So we're going to jump back into Richard Morgan KC's evidence to the Post Office Horizon IT inquiry. And interestingly, another Horizon issue pops up, this time at Falkirk on the opening day of Lee Castleton's trial. And Richard Morgan KC is trying to establish what the impact of this is on Lee Castleton's case, as he believes he's discussing Horizon issues with other sub-postmasters and would like to have that admitted as evidence in his case to show that there were issues with Horizon. The court seems to decide against that, and Mandy Talbot tells Richard Morgan KC, so Mandy Talbot working at the post office says, oh, this Horizon issue was like a bolt out of the blue. They weren't expecting it. What do you think? Let's jump into the inquiry.
Can we look on thirdly then, please, at poll 307-0126. This is a telephone attendance note of on Mandy Talbot by SJD3, who's Mr. Dilly, and you. Can you see that?
Yes.
MT Mandy Talbot saying that today's news about problems with the Horizon system at the Falkirk branch had come as a bolt from the blue, that she'd known nothing about it, and that Fujitsu did not give any indication. Could we get Fujitsu a witness to give evidence? Richard Morgan saying we need a Fujitsu witness to identify what this problem was. Why this was a problem, but Lee Castleton's was not. Was there a latent defect or a software problem from a subsequent update or a hardware problem specific to that branch?
Seems like the focus is on defending the position in the case they're bringing against Lee Castleton rather than necessarily getting to the truth of what's actually happening, because you could easily ask that question the other way. Well, can we identify if there are any bugs in the Horizon, if there's any substance in what the sub-postmasters are saying?
Richard Morgan saying he was concerned about whether we have to give disclosure of this fact. He thought probably yes, but wanted to find out if the judge thought it was relevant. Richard Morgan was prepared to put off a decision on this until after his opening. Richard Morgan asked Mandy Talbot to get some definitive answers from Fujitsu. Richard Morgan saying we may finish in court by lunchtime tomorrow. You're recorded as saying that you needed a Fujitsu witness identifying why this was a problem, but that Mr. Castleton's was not.
Yes.
Did you assume that the problem did not afflict Mr. Castleton's branch?
It's whether there's an assumption made that it didn't affect his branch, which I don't know what it will be based on, or whether you simply actually don't want to believe that what it could be saying could actually be the truth, and you're looking for an angle to defend the current prosecution on, which is starting to come under some question and attack.
That's a very simple question with quite a complicated answer. I made no assumptions about what was going on at Mr. Castleton's branch. I made no assumptions about what was going on at any other branch. By this stage, I was... I think the case had started on was it the 4th, and this is the 6th, so this is the Wednesday. I can't quite remember. So the trial had started. I was open.
No, I don't think that chronology is exactly right.
Isn't it? I can't remember. But the issues were the account stated point, and Mr. Castleton's case was that it was called the Horizon system was causing problems, but he didn't say how or why. I didn't know what the issue was with what's the name of the branch? The Falkirk branch.
Falkirk, yes.
I wanted to know what was going on. Mr. Castleton was wanting to call some other sub-postmasters about issues that were going on in their branches. And the question whether it was relevant to the Castleton trial that other sub-postmasters had problems, and if so, what those problems were. As I recall it, and this is reconstructed from what is said, or what appears in the transcripts and the notes of the hearing that were provided to me, the judge ruled on that and said that although the witness evidence was admissible to show that there were errors or there were problems that had occurred in other branches, there wasn't going to be a trial of the other issues within the Castleton trial. So it all happened in a very compressed time frame, as far as I can recall. And there was a ruling on the admissibility or relevance of issues in other branches that meant this went back onto the back burner. That's my recollection.
I mean, at this point, he's on notice of at least two different distinct types of bugs happening in at least two different locations. The screen freezes, which have caused transaction discrepancy, and the as yet kind of quite mysterious but issue at the Falkirk branch, which is aware of there's been some Horizon issues. It seems reasonable for Lee Castleton, absolutely, to be asking other sub-postmasters what problems they're having with Horizon, and the relevance surely is they're all using the same system. If you don't think the system's working properly, establishing whether other sub-postmasters are having an issue is of key importance, because until you establish what issue they're having and what effects that's having, it's hard to compare whether that is similar or completely different. I think the probable issue at this point is if they identify that there are Horizon issues at other branches, it's going to be very hard to prove that wasn't happening at Lee Castleton's branch, going back to Richard Morgan Casey's previous statements in attendance notes at the initial in-person meeting and subsequently on the telephone, saying it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to prove that Horizon is free of errors.
So just on the chronology,
yes,
this is the morning of the opening.
Yeah, thanks.
So the trial opened on Wednesday, the 6th of December.
Yes, I think there were two pre-reading days, I think. I thought the first day of the trial was Monday the 4th. Let's put it a different way. I think we can agree that this was the day on which you opened the case. Fine, thank you. Yes, sorry, I don't wish to argue with you, that's just my recollection. And
the judgments that you're referring to, I think if we look at poll 302 1678, this is a copy of the judgment.
Yes.
And
yes, this reminds me of this is where I've reconstructed what happened from. I can't remember the precise order. Again, if we had the benefit of the transcripts, we'd see exactly what had happened.
And I think if you turn to page 8, please, and look at paragraph 22. During the hearing, Mr. Castleton sought to adduce evidence of other complaints from sub-postmasters of other post offices about the Horizon system. I admitted the fact that there were a few such complaints, but I refused to admit evidence of the facts underlying such complaints.
Yes.
Since that would have involved a trial within a trial.
Yes.
And essentially, was that your submission on behalf of the post office?
Again, I'm afraid I genuinely can't remember. I suspect it may have been, though. I think that's...
Is it permissible to say that there had been a few complaints, but what those complaints were or the facts of them underlying them was not admissible?
I'm not sure that I would have put it exactly like that, but that's the way it's recorded.
It's kind of saying I don't want the trial within the trial. So was it not admissible because they didn't want to cause a trial within the trial, or not admissible because the evidence isn't admissible, full stop? I don't know. Maybe a lawyer can fill us in on this, but it seems like a critical point there. You're being accused of losses in your post office. You're saying it's because of the Horizon system. You've discussed with other sub-postmasters their use of the exact same system, and they're saying that they're having issues. By not admitting that, it's fatally undermining his case, isn't it? That's a critical piece of evidence that he's putting forward. Why would that not be relevant to what's happening in his case? Surely.
In the event, did you give disclosure of the facts concerning the Calendar Square or Falkirk bug?
I don't recall giving disclosure. Sorry.
Surely if the evidence isn't even admissible at that point because they don't want the trial within the trial, it should have still been disclosed.
I don't recall my solicitors giving disclosure as the accurate answer.
Thank you. Yes, that can come down, thank you.